7:10 in the morning, a cruise missile erupts from the deck of a naval destroyer and screams toward the horizon. The booster falls away. A turbofan engine, the size of a coffee table, spools to life, and the missile drops to 50 feet above the waterline. 4 seconds later, the next cell fires, then the next, then the next. The largest American military operation since the 2003 invasion of Iraq has just begun, and the enemy was about to find out firsthand exactly why Americans don't have free healthcare. Within 90 seconds, 8 missiles are gone. 300 meters northwest, 2 more destroyers are running the same drill. 25 cruise missiles now race their radar altimeters along the wave tops, threading between coastal surveillance stations on routes designed to exploit every known gap in radar coverage. Flight time to the enemy's southern naval bases, 40 minutes. Nobody on the other side has any idea they're coming. Somewhere on the Gulf Coast, an enemy radar operator is probably drinking tea, watching a blank scope. He has about 39 minutes of peace left. But cruise missiles are patient. 550 miles per hour across open water means 40 minutes of exposure, where a single coastal radar ping could compromise the entire southern attack. Everything now depends on what crossed the border ahead of them. Already inside enemy airspace, a wave of low-cost combat drones is doing something no American weapon has ever done before. An enemy air defense operator watches a dozen slow-moving contacts materialize on his scope, pushing inland from the coast at barely 110 knots. He can't tell which ones carry 40-pound warheads aimed at his radar antenna, and which ones are just noise, so he does the only thing training allows. He fires. The interceptor streaks off the rail. Over $1 million. It tracks a drone the size of a riding lawnmower, closes at 3 times the speed of sound, and turns it into confetti. But it wasn't a cruise missile. What you just watched blow up was a $35,000 decoy drone. These drones, reverse engineered from captured enemy designs, cost $35,000 to build, and right now they are the most important aircraft over the battlefield. He fires again, another $1 million, and again, this is cost exchange warfare at an industrial scale. Every interceptor that chases a drone cheaper than a pickup truck is one fewer in the magazine when 25 cruise missiles show up in 30 minutes. Worse, every time that battery fires, it broadcasts its exact position to the passive sensors on the stealth jets now crossing the border, and that operator is spending his ammunition and painting a target on his own forehead at the same time. But the air defense commanders celebrating their kills are about to discover something. Those interceptors, they just burned through, and they were going to need every single one of them in about 25 minutes, because what crossed the border next was not a $35,000 drone. 12 heavy strike jets had been climbing east through friendly airspace for 90 minutes, tucked behind a screen of stealth fighters running completely silent in the lead. Electronic warfare suites passively cataloging every radar emission along the enemy border, while broadcasting absolutely nothing. Each strike jet hanging heavy, with a long-range ballistic missile slung under the fuselage centerline. At 0805 local, the formation reaches launch altitude over Western Territory, and the lead weapons officer has been watching his targeting display update for the last hour. Coordinates refined 3 times via satellite data link from an Allied intelligence aircraft circling overhead. He confirms the final solution. The pilot squeezes the release. 2,500 pounds drop away, and the jet jumps from the sudden weight loss. Below the aircraft, from the solid rocket motor lights, the weapon punches through the sound barrier in seconds. 11 more missiles release within seconds of each other. 12 weapons, now accelerating beyond anything the enemy can intercept, arcing toward the capital. A cruise missile from distance needs 45 minutes to reach the target. These weapons need minutes. That gap is the entire ballgame. 45 minutes gives enemy radar operators time to detect, track, get authorization, and fire back. Minutes gives them time to watch the impact on the news. At 0810, everything arrives at once. The standoff weapons hit first. Supersonic warheads, arriving with functionally zero warning time. The enemy leadership compound takes multiple direct hits. Satellite imagery captures the aftermath. Several buildings reduced to broken concrete, smoke columns punching through the morning air. Within minutes, the stealth fighters crossed the border, carrying precision-guided bombs and small-diameter munitions. This is where the stealth jet's sensor fusion earns every dollar of its price tag. The pilot rolling in on the Ministry of Defense does not flip between radar screens, infrared feeds, and threat displays. The jet's computers merge everything on its own sensors, data from every aircraft in the formation, and satellite imagery into one single picture. He sees every enemy radar still operating within 200 miles. Every friendly aircraft. The GPS coordinates of 3 buildings he's about to put a bomb through. One screen, one picture, like driving with a GPS that shows every traffic camera and speed trap and pothole, all updated in real time. The enemy spent 30 years building an integrated air defense network. The stealth jet turned it into a highlight reel. He rolls the aircraft onto its back at 25,000 feet, pulls the nose down toward the ministry compound, and releases a small diameter bomb. The weapon is only 250 pounds, a quarter the size of a standard guided bomb, but its GPS-guided diamond-shaped wings let it glide over 40 miles from release point. And at this range, the circular error is measured in single-digit feet. The bomb punches through the ministry roof and detonates on a delayed fuse inside the 3rd floor, the level where military planning documents live. Across the Capitol, the pattern repeats. The Ministry of Intelligence, the Atomic Energy Organization headquarters, the Parchin military complex, each one selected because it cannot be rebuilt quickly, relocated, or replaced from backup systems. These jets are not hitting random government buildings. They're severing the administrative nervous system that connects enemy military leaders to their units in the field, their intelligence, and their nuclear bureaucracy. But every minute those jets spin over the Capitol, their fuel ticks down, and their exposure grows. And from the mountains to the west, the enemy's most capable air defense system, the one the drones haven't reached yet, is tracking every one of them. 700 miles south of the smoke over the Capitol, the cruise missiles finally reach the coast. The first warhead hits the southern naval base at 08:12 hours local. The command building folds inward. Fuel storage behind it catches, and a column of black smoke punches straight up through the morning humidity. 4 minutes later, a heavy strike Eagle from the 48th Fighter Wing, forward deployed from Royal Air Force Lakenheath, rolls in from the north at 18,000 feet, 60 degrees of dive angle. The weapons officer in the back seat has been staring at this target for the last 40 minutes. A hardened concrete shelter on the waterfront, designed to protect fast attack boats inside. These are the boats built to swarm the Strait of Hormuz, 50 feet long, armed with machine guns and rocket launchers, designed to sprint out in packs of 100 and overwhelm oil tankers and U.S. ships with sheer volume. Nobody's sprinting anywhere today. He designates the shelter, confirms GPS lock, pickles the bomb. 2,000 pounds drop off the centerline station, 4 grid fins adjusting 10 times per second, steering a slab of hardened steel toward a roof built to stop shrapnel. Not a weapon that hits with the force of a freight car. 30 seconds of free fall. The bomb punches through the concrete arch and detonates inside the shelter. The overpressure has nowhere to go. The walls blow outward. The roof pancakes down onto the boats like a fist closing. The jet is already climbing when pulling 5 Gs back to altitude when the weapons officer confirms the hit on the targeting pod footage. Below them, the Strait of Hormuz sits open and quiet. The enemy spent 40 years threatening to mine it and choke the global economy. The boats that were supposed to do it are burning under a collapsed roof on the Gulf Coast, and the Navy is far from done today. 500 miles east, an aircraft carrier makes 30 knots into a headwind. On the flight deck, a Super Hornet sits on Catapult 1, both engines at military power.
The catapult officer drops to one knee and touches the deck. The holdback breaks. The shuttle fires 0 to 165 miles per hour in under 3 seconds. 4 Gs shove the pilot's spine into the ejection seat. The strike package is headed for the enemy's only deep water port on the southern coast. Cruise missiles hit the command post and fuel storage 20 minutes ago. The petroleum reserves are throwing a column of black smoke visible 60 miles out on the forward-looking infrared, but the submarine piers are still standing, and a submarine that slips out to sea can carry mines into the Strait of Hormuz, hiding inside commercial shipping traffic. That cannot happen. The lead Hornet rolls in on the submarine pier, 2,000 pounds, direct hit. His wingman follows 30 seconds later, puts a second bomb into the dry dock facility next door. If you can't fuel a submarine, repair it, or load it with mines, it might as well be an expensive lawn ornament. A third pair targets the coastal anti-ship missile battery on the Bluff, the launcher that could threaten tankers and coalition warships in the strait. 2 small diameter bombs later, the battery ceases to exist. Across the Gulf Coast, the coordinated cruise missile then fighter pattern has now hit 3 major naval installations, home to enemy submarines and the Fast Attack Fleet's headquarters. The carrier air wing still has plenty of weapons on the rails as insurance against any enemy boat brave enough to sortie. None do, but 500 miles north, the stealth jets over the capital are running low on fuel, and the air defense system in the western mountains is now coming alive. 3 hours into the operation, the weapon the enemy was counting on finally gives itself away. After Allied strikes dismantled virtually all of the enemy's imported air defense batteries, their engineers did something genuinely impressive. They spent 2 years under full sanctions building a domestic replacement, a mobile phased array radar, roughly 150-kilometer engagement range, the ceiling of what they could build. They positioned it in the western mountain range, guarding the corridor Allied jets had been using all morning. An electronic warfare jet from the carrier's air wing catches the first emission. The search radar had been pulsing intermittently for hours, short bursts, trying to track the stealth jets without staying on long enough to attract a missile. But now, with a second strike wave inbound through the corridor, the battery commander makes the decision every air defense operator dreads. He switches to fire control, full power, continuous track. He's going for a shot. The moment he transmits, he is finished. The Growler's next-generation jammer floods his tracking frequency with enough power to turn the display into noise. Simultaneously, a stealth jet that's been passively mapping that emission for 90 minutes passes the precise grid coordinates via data link. And from a Super Hornet orbiting 40 miles west, an anti-radiation missile drops off the pylon, lights its rocket motor, and accelerates to nearly Mach 3. The missile's seeker doesn't care if the radar shuts down. It already knows where it lives. A mission to impact, less than 90 seconds. The enemy spent 2 years building a replacement for the air defense system they'd lost. The coalition destroyed the replacement before it ever fired a shot. A senior U.S. official later states, "We have effectively suppressed their air defenses." That sequence rewrites the rest of the day, because the aircraft that had been orbiting over friendly territory for 3 hours, waiting for exactly this moment, are finally cleared to push deep. 12 fifth-generation Raptor fighters get the call. These are the jets from the east coast of the United States. Call signs Delta 51 through Delta 66. They've been burning holes in the sky for 3 hours, watching the air defense picture shift from red to amber. Now, it's go time. The lead pilot pushes both throttles to military power and banks east into enemy airspace. His radar is painting everything within 125 miles, tracking contacts the size of a golf ball, while his own jet returns a signature roughly the size of a marble. An enemy fighter would need to be within 15 miles to register anything at all. At 15 miles, his missiles are already off the rail. It's the radar equivalent of being invisible until you're already standing in someone's living room. But the Raptors aren't here to shoot down fighters. They're here to listen.
The F-22's electronic warfare suite is the most capable system ever mounted onto a combat aircraft. Over 30 antennas embedded across the wings, fuselage, and tail, each one tuned to a different slice of the electromagnetic spectrum. As the Raptor cruises over central enemy territory, the system is quietly cataloging every electronic emission on the ground below. A mobile missile battery that relocated during the morning chaos and thinks it's hidden, already geolocated from its own search radar. An enemy command post communicating on a frequency it thinks is secure, logged, coordinates tagged, forwarded to a strike jet orbiting 60 miles behind. The Raptor pilot never fires a shot he doesn't need to. Every piece of data his jet collects makes the next striker's job easier. The enemy Air Force, perhaps 40 operational fighters, some aging airframes that were already old when Top Gun came out, stays on the ground. Smart choice, but on the ground, in Western Territory, a different fight is reaching its climax. While the Raptors catalog the interior and the Navy dismantles the coast, the most desperate contest of the day is playing out in the Western Mountain Range. 30 heavy strike jets, loaded with glide bombs and cruise missiles, have fanned out across 3 provinces, hunting mobile missile launchers. The heavy trucks that carry, raise, and fire ballistic missiles capable of reaching Allied cities. The math is brutal. An enemy missile crew can drive a ballistic rocket out of a hardened mountain tunnel, set up in a valley, connect fuel lines, erect the missile on the rail, and launch in under 30 minutes. Then drive the empty launcher back underground before the next satellite pass. Finding a missile launcher in those mountains is like